Hi, so now we're gonna be talking about this beautiful country named Brazil. So, for starters, Brazil is located in South America and is surrounded by most of countries in this continent, such as French Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina. So, this beautiful country spans 8.5 million square kilometers, which turns it into the fifth largest country in the world and the biggest in South America. To the east, it boasts a 7,500,000 kilometer long coastline along the Atlantic Ocean, home to stunning beaches and biodiversity. And in its geography includes the Amazon forest, the Pantanal wetlands here, this beautiful landscape, the Cerrado savanna, and of course Brazilian highlands. Now let's talk about the Brazilians. Brazil's population is estimated to be around 216 million people living in the country. This turns Brazil into the most populous country in Latin America. Like many Latin American countries, Brazil's population experimented a peak in growth rate last century. Nevertheless, during the last decades, the growth rate has been decreasing due to urbanization, low birth rates, and improved access to contraception and family planning. Around 85% of Brazilians live in major urban cities, such as Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, and Salvador. Brazil is known for its ethnic diversity. The population is composed of Pardos, which are the mixed people, white people, black people, indigenous people, and Asian people. Actually, as an interesting fact, Brazil is the home to the biggest Japanese diaspora outside of Japan. Brazil is a federal presidential republic. The country is divided into 26 states and one federal district. Brazilian's government is divided in three powers: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Today, Brazil's president is Lula da Silva, and the president is changed every 4 years. He has the faculty to choose the country's ministers. Brazil's system works as a bicameral Congress. The lower chamber is composed of 513 members, who are elected every 4 years. In the other hand, the higher chamber is composed of 81 senators, and they are elected every 8 years. Brazil has a diverse and rich history, and like many Latin American countries, its history is shaped by indigenous country, colonization, and independence. But to sum it up, before the Portuguese arrived, Brazil was inhabited by 1,000 tribes from indigenous people. And it was in 1500 when the Portuguese arrived. And the explorer Pedro Álvares Carvajal arrived in Brazil and claimed the land for the Portuguese kingdom. And then it was until 1808 that the Portuguese royal family fled to Brazil due to Napoleon's invasion, that Brazil obtained its independence. Then, after its independence, Brazil has experienced different periods such as republic, dictatorship, military dictatorship, and a return to democracy. It is important to say that Brazil's capital is Brasilia. And as a fun fact, the name Brazil comes from Brazil, that it's a native tree that it's found in Brazil.
Hello, guys. I'll talk a little bit about Brazilian cuisine. Uh, it is important to say that it is a reflect about their own multicultural heritage because it's very influenced on their indigenous, African, and Portuguese regions. I'll tell you about a little bit about their national dish. This is feijoada, that is a pretty hearty stew compounded by pork, beef, black beans, served with rice and orange slices to give that citric taste, and it is considered a national Brazilian dish. But if we're talking about Brazilian food, we can go without talking about churrasco. Churrasco is the Brazilian style barbecue that fits a lot of a variety of different kind of meats that they are grilled on these skewers that give them this iconic and particular aspect that made them one of the most popular dishes in order to gather people in Brazil. It is pretty fun, and if you haven't, we recommend you to give you a try.
Now I'm going to talk about the colors and the meanings of the colors in Brazil. First, I'm going to start with green. Green is a really special color. It represents nature and environment, and this is why it is so important for Brazilian people. Green is also in the flag, and you can see a lot of green all over Brazil since it has one of the biggest rainforests known as the Amazon in the world. It represents a love for the planet. Blue. Blue is often seen as a color that is calming and peaceful. It represents the sky, the unity, and the freedom. And it is also associated with strength and loyalty. Did you know that Brazil was one of the world's largest gold producers in the 18th and the 19th centuries? Well, this is why yellow is also a really special color in Brazil. It represents wealth, prosperity, energy, and brightness. And it is also associated with the sun. The next color is white. White is also really special for Brazilian people. Did you know that Brazilian people wear white on New Year's Eve? Also, this is a universal symbol of peace. It represents purity and neutrality. In Brazil, it represents and symbolizes harmony, integrity, and hope. And it is also tied to the idea of balance. Now I'm going to talk about the flag. As you can see, there is a big blue circle, and in it there are 27 stars. Each one represents a state, and the biggest star represents the capital. Then you can see the national motto that it says Order and Progreso. This means order and progress, which advocates order, scientific progress, and rational thinking for the foundation of the social economic development of Brazil. The Brazil flag was created by Raimundo Teixeira Mendes, Miguel Lemos, and Jean-Baptiste de la Salle. It was influenced by the French flag. And as you can see, there is a lot of green and yellow, and each color represents the Brazilian imperial family, with green representing the House of Bragança of the royal family of Dom Pedro I, and yellow representing the House of Habsburg, that it was of Maria Leopoldina, that she was the wife of Dom Pedro I.
Now I'll talk a little bit about behavior and little attitudes and activities that Brazilians do on their natural lives. First of all, let's say that they are very friendly. They are always willing to socialize, and they are always will be inviting you to another kind of greetings in order to spend time together and enjoy. It is also important to say that depending on the context, they will be very relaxed on times. You can always arrive late, just on like social meetings. On professional ways, they are a little bit different and they are very respectful about time, but they're very relaxed on it. As we mentioned, their multicultural heritage is very important for them, so you have to respect this in order to have good relationships in Brazil. It is important to say that they have a pretty nice, relaxed lifestyle. They're always chilling out, hanging out, passing time with friends, gathering together. So if you go to Brazil, you'll have no problems. Now, talking about Brazilian entertainment, I'll talk you one of the most important of them. That is football or soccer. Brazil football national team have won the FIFA World Cup 5 times in the history. That make them the most successful national team on football history. Here's the iconic photo when Pelé won the third World Cup of Brazil history on the Aztec Stadium, and it is considered the most important and the best national team who ever played ever. Also, they're very passionate about carnivals, where national music as samba is played, and they make all these parades that make them very iconic around the world. Because of their nature, they enjoy a lot of outdoor activities, like going to the beach and hanging out. And also, they're very passionate about TV. This is the most famous and popular TV show in Brazilian history. It's very known. They are also big fans of comedy. They love Chavo del Ocho, and this is a little tribute that made them on the streets.
So now I'm going to talk about the doing business and tourist etiquette in Brazil. First of all, it's important to say that Portuguese is the official language. English is not widely spoken, so learning phrases in Portuguese is very useful. So first, for the business etiquette, Brazilians love their relationship. So before to make a negotiation, it's important to have a good relations with the other person. Brazilians are very expressive and use gestures. About the punctuality, the meetings start 30 minutes late, so you can arrive 15 or 30 minutes late, but not more than that time. The negotiations can be very slowly because they prefer the relationships over the contracts. They use titles and the last name to refer to other person. Well, a formal greeting is a handshake like this. Is very typical in Brazil. And talking about the dress code, they wear formal business, suit and tie for men, business suits or dresses for women. So, in the other hand, we have the tourist etiquette. The greetings. Well, Brazilians are very expressive and friendly, so you can wait for hugs or kisses or greetings, especially in friends. Talking about the dress code, they usually use clothes like this because Brazil has a tropical weather. Talking about the personal space, it's important to say that Brazilians stay closer to each other, so you can expect less personal space, especially in public. Brazil is a very diverse country, so the customs are variable according to the region. For food, it's important to say that had a lot of dishes like feijoada. Well, about the corruption. It's a persistent issue in Brazil, especially in a political and governmental sector, where the people accept illicit payments between business and people politicians. It affects the international reputations and increments the social inequality. Although Brazil has implemented anti-corruption laws, it nowadays is a significant challenge for this country. About the gifts are very common in Brazil culture, especially in the business and political environment, are seen as a way to strengthen the personal and professional relationships, but it can be perceived as an attempt to bribe or influence in official decisions. So this is very regulated under laws like the improbability law. So the companies have cautions with offering gifts to public officials to avoid the perception of corruption in this way. And for the last point, according to general recommendation for Mexicans traveling to Brazil, well, like I said before, the Portuguese is the official language, so you can learn phrases or words like hi or thank you. Brazilians are very friendly, so you can wait for a good treatment. The transportation is a very important point because it can be different dangerous places, so you can use Uber or a official taxi. Also, it's very important to drink bottled water and stay hydrated for the weather. You can use sunscreen or a hat, especially in outdoor activities. So it's important to stick to well the tourist areas, especially in Rio de Janeiro or in Sao Paulo. You can try traditional dishes like feijoada and caipirinha cocktail. Well, Brazil is a country full of natural, gastronomic, and cultural riches, so you can try to be respectful all the time.